Imagine a world where machines are conscious, not just programmed to simulate intelligence, but genuinely experiencing the world as we do. What if your sense of self, your inner voice, and even your feeling of being aware is just a simplified model your brain creates to manage attention? This is the foundation of the attention schema theory, AST, a groundbreaking explanation of why we feel conscious and how the brain constructs the illusion of awareness. But here's the real question. If awareness is just a model in our brain, does that mean consciousness is an illusion? Could an artificial intelligence equipped with an attention schema also feel conscious? If AST is true, does that mean there is no true self, just a useful trick of evolution? Let's dive into one of the most fascinating and controversial theories of the mind. The attention schema theory, AST, proposed by neuroscientist Michael Graziano, suggests that consciousness is the brain's simplified model of its own attention. We know that our brains are constantly flooded with sensory information. But we can't focus on everything at once, so the brain must decide what is important and where to direct attention. According to AST, the brain maintains an internal model of what it is paying attention to. This model is what we experience as consciousness. Awareness is not magic. It is simply the brain's best guess at what it is doing. Consciousness is like the user interface of a computer. It simplifies complex processing into something we can understand and use. If this is true, then our sense of self-awareness is nothing more than a mental construct, a representation of our own focus. To understand AST, we first need to explore the key concepts. The brain builds models of the world. Our brains are prediction machines. They constantly build and update internal models of the world. Your visual system doesn't actually see reality directly, it constructs a model of the external world based on sensory input. Your motor system doesn't just react, it builds a model of your body to predict movement. The attention schema, a model of attention, just like the brain creates models of the external world, it also creates a model of itself, specifically, a model of what it is paying attention to. This internal model of attention is what we call awareness. The brain needs to keep track of where its focus is. Instead of processing every sensory detail, the brain constructs a simplified version of its own attention. This simplified version is what we experience as being conscious of something. In other words, awareness is the brain's mental shortcut for understanding its own focus. One of the biggest mysteries of neuroscience is how brain activity leads to subjective experience, what philosopher David Chalmers calls the hard problem of consciousness. AST avoids this problem entirely by reframing it. Consciousness is not a mysterious force, it is just a functional model of attention. The brain doesn't need to generate a separate mind, it simply constructs a useful representation of itself. This means our sense of self-awareness is just another information processing tool. This also explains why consciousness feels real, because the brain doesn't model it as a mechanical process, but as a powerful, invisible force. Think about it. You don't experience neural signals firing in your brain, you experience the illusion of a unified self. You don't experience raw sensory data, you experience a coherent and meaningful world. According to AST, the feeling of awareness is just another illusion, a simplified representation of complex brain functions. Here is some evidence supporting AST. Damage to attention systems affects awareness. Patients with brain damage in certain regions, like the parietal cortex, experience disruptions in awareness, despite normal sensory processing. This suggests that awareness is not tied to perception itself, but to how the brain models its attention. The brain can still process information without awareness. In experiments, people with blind sight, damage to the visual cortex, can still detect objects, even though they have no conscious awareness of seeing them. Their brain is processing visual information but without constructing an awareness model of it. This supports AST because it shows that awareness is not necessary for perception, but is instead an additional layer added by the brain. Artificial intelligence and AST. If AST is correct, then consciousness is not a magical property, it is just a computational function. If we build an AI with an attention schema, could it experience something like consciousness? Could robots feel self-aware just like we do, even if their brains are made of silicon? Would that mean consciousness is just a useful tool and not something uniquely human? This raises profound ethical and philosophical questions about what it truly means to be conscious. If AST is correct, then consciousness is not a fundamental property of the universe, it is just a useful model. There is no self beyond the brain's representation of itself. Our awareness is not special, it is just an evolved function to improve survival. But if this is true, then, what does it mean to be human? Could an AI ever develop self-awareness? Do animals experience a similar illusion of consciousness? If consciousness is just an attention model, does that mean free will is also an illusion? AST challenges everything we think we know about the mind, self, and the nature of existence itself. The attention schema theory may be the key to finally understanding consciousness, not as some mysterious force, but as an evolved mental construct that helps the brain track its own focus. Could this mean AI can one day be truly conscious? Is your sense of self just an illusion created by neurons? If awareness is just a tool, does that mean it can be engineered or even manipulated? While AST may not be the final answer to consciousness, one thing is certain: the more we understand about the brain, the more our traditional view of the self starts to unravel, and the more we realize that consciousness might not be as mysterious as we once thought.
What do you think?
Are we truly self-aware beings, or are we just complex biological machines running an evolved attention model?